$49,500. That's the average cost of a car today. Replacing your car's engine could cost between $4,000 and $10,000 depending on the size of the engines. So how can I make my car last over 6 years? After all, most vehicles are financed for 6 years. Can I extend my oil and filter change intervals to save money? Can I use less expensive engine oil? We will look at some of the factors and decide if these are possible. Compare today's engines to the new ones of the 1960s, and what are the proper oil change intervals for today's engines. So let's start by looking at what exactly does engine oil do. There are 7 main things that our engine oils must perform. First of all, they need to reduce friction. Engine oil must reduce the friction that is caused when the parts are moving together inside of the engine. This friction must be reduced to prevent unwanted wear. Tolerances in other engines are tighter, therefore friction is more of an issue. Good, clean oil, free of debris, is needed to prolong engine life. Second of all, engine oil must clean. Detergents and disbursement additives are in today's oil. They keep the engine free from contaminants like dirt and corrosive materials caused by combustion, by suspending them in the oil and transporting them to the oil filter where they could be removed. Engine oil must cool. Heat from friction is absorbed into the oil and then transferred into the oil pan or to the oil cooler to release the heat. Too much oil contaminates in the oil prevents it from happening, causing the engine to run hotter. Today's smaller engines run hotter anyway because of their size. They're so much smaller and they have to do so much more work than the older, bigger engines did. Engine oil must also seal. The components such as the cylinder walls, a light film is allowed to stay and make the piston ring seal better and increase combustion pressure and prevent excessive oil consumption. Engine oil must dampen shock. Engine components usually are suspended on a thin coat of oil, so that way when you have internal combustions and the impacts of that, it doesn't transfer over and cause damage to the components. Sixth, engine oil must prevent corrosion. Additives in the oil keep the internal engine parts coated to keep it from preventing buildup of sludge and rust that can flake off and get in between the components and cause severe damage. Engine oil must transfer energy. Oil in today's engines are used not only as for lubrication, but also as a hydraulic fluid in components like the lifters, the cam phasers, and today's variable cam engines. So, now that you know what engine oil does, what must we do to protect your engine and how often should you change it? Modern engine oils have almost no petroleum like conventional oils have. Today's engines are better made and closer tolerance. They need oils to meet these tolerances. Petroleum oil is thick when it's cold and very thin when it's hot. This is the opposite of what we need in today's engines. Most engine oils are synthetic blends or 100% synthetic. This allows the oil to be low in viscosity when it's cold and higher in viscosity when it's warm, the exact opposite of petroleum's characteristics. Synthetic oils reduce most of the engine wear, especially during cold starts. This is when your engine's going to probably create 70% of its wear is on the initial startup because the oil has been allowed to drain back into the oil pan. We need that thinner viscosity or that steady viscosity of the synthetic oils to get that oil into the engines a whole lot faster. So this advancement in oil technology allows the oil and its additives to last longer. So we can go 7,500 to 10,000 miles between oil changes instead of 3,000 miles like we did with our old oils. Yes, synthetic oils are more expensive, but whenever you compare the cost of conventional oil change at $50 and then the synthetics are closer to $100 per oil change. But with longer oil change intervals, the cost is actually less. If you figure 3 oil changes at $50 each equals $150 every 9,000 miles, compared to about $100 for an oil change that you can go 7,500 to 10,000 miles before changing it. So new technology in engine design and oil additives allows these engines to last 3 times longer. According to a J.D. Power study, today's engines last an average of 350,000 miles if properly maintained. Earlier engines, like our fathers drove and our grandfathers drove, you'd be lucky to get 100,000 miles out of them. Most were designed only to go 60,000 miles back in the 50s and the 60s. So, is it cost effective to service our engines today every 7,500 miles, or can we go a little bit farther? The evidence is clear that it pays to service your engine and oil filter with the proper type of oil, viscosity, and a quality filter. The old adage shows to be true here. You can spend a little money now or a lot more later. So I've given you a lot of information, so let's review. First of all, your average automobile to replace your car today is $49,500. That's according to the Kelley Blue Book study in January of 2023. Some of the vehicles are up into the 100,000 miles, especially if you get into pickups and things like that. Then, if we think about, well, what if we have to replace the engine in our automobile? The cost of replacing an engine, according to Wikipedia study and J.D. Power, the average price to replace your engine runs between $4,000 for a little four-cylinder and up to $10,000 for the bigger V8 engines. So today's engines are designed to last 3 times longer than those of the pre-90s. So the cost of an oil change today is twice as expensive as 30 years ago. With extended intervals, it is actually less expensive to service our engines today. So instead of 3,000 miles, we're going 7,500 or 10,000 miles between oil changes. So that's a savings. Not to mention that savings also, doing this is going to help that engine last longer and run better for longer, which is going to save us money in the long run. So there is a value in servicing your car's engine at the recommended intervals using the best oil and filters. You can pay a little money now, properly servicing your engine, or you can pay a lot more later, either replacing your engine or having to replace your car. So the choice is yours, but the choice is clear. If you properly service your engines today with the right oils, the right filters, they're going to last you probably beyond the 6 years that it's going to take to pay them off. So you make the decision. Thank you.